Our reporter Anina Peens was in the court, of course, and she joins me now live in the studio. Anina, good to have you.
Hi, Tabo.
So there's no contempt of court. What does that mean?
No. So I think it's important to go back to 2 weeks ago when the case appeared in front of Judge Colin Lamont. He had said initially that to the Nelson Mandela Foundation that this is not an urgent application and you're also in the wrong court. So this is not an application you should bring to the High Court. You should maybe consider going to the Equality Court. That was his initial opening statements at the last appearance. So it's actually not a surprise, and as the AfriForum said as well, it's not a surprise that he dismissed the application. But as they said, the matter is not over because now the Nelson Mandela Foundation can go to the Equality Court. Because the ruling was made in that court needs to decide to what end and what extent that law was, being stepped over. Why do you say that? Yeah. How did he commit the crime against what has been said in the Equality Court? So Colin Lamont couldn't make a ruling on whether it's hate speech or not. He just dismissed it as it's no contempt of court. That's the only thing that he ruled on today, that it's not contempt of court. But he didn't say that it's not hate speech by posting it.
Yes.
That's something that the Equality Court now needs to go and decide.
Right.
And Nelson Mandela Foundation needs to decide whether they're going to go further with this case, which they don't have any indication at the moment. They couldn't answer that this morning.
Were they present in court this morning?
They were present in court this morning. They said they kind of accept it. They still think it is contempt of court. So they will study the judgment. It was a judgment made in a summer. It was a very, very short judgment. So both parties need to go and study the full extent of the judgment to hear what it has to say. And then they'll decide from there whether they're going to the Equality Court or not. AfriForum had indicated that if they go to the Equality Court, they will vehemently oppose that too, because they do not believe that they committed hate speech in posting.
So it's a victory for them in a sense. Are they saying, do they take this as a win, even though the judge did not explicitly, of course, say that particular display at the time on Twitter constitutes hate speech?
Yes, they take it as a win. In the previous case, it was also argumented the Nelson Mandela Foundation wanted Roets to be going to jail for a period of at least 6 months. And we actually expected that as well. This could go any way this morning, because that's essentially what they wanted. So for them, it's a victory in that sense. But as you say, it hasn't been said that, hey, you haven't committed hate speech. That still needs to be detected. It's not been determined by any court. The only thing is, this is not a case for the High Court, it's not an urgent matter, and it's not a contempt of court in this court. But that's as far as that court can go now. So the Equality Court has to decide. So we have to see what Nelson Mandela Foundation is going to do now. Are they going to take it further? Are they going to leave it? Are they going to settle outside court? I don't think they're going to settle outside court. There's no love lost there. So let's see what they do in the next couple of weeks when they've studied the judgment at length.
Anina Peens, much appreciated, and thanks for bringing us that report.
Thank you.
She was, of course, outside the court. That's where that ruling was delivered earlier on this morning. No contempt of court, according to the judge. Now, Gauteng